Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Cryosphere Pavilion. My name is Christina, and I'm a geophysicist at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. And I would like to introduce our next session, which is entitled Solar Cooking, a Pathway to Emission Prevention and Climate Crisis Mitigation. And our first speaker will be Alan Bigelow from Solar Cookers International. And we will hear how solar cooking could be a way to reduce black carbon emissions, which are actually really harmful for the cryosphere. So I'm looking forward to the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christina. Really appreciate your introduction. And it's a pleasure to be here at the Cryosphere Pavilion at COP29. This is the last day of COP, and last but not least, we need to talk about something very serious, and that's the cryosphere in the context of cooking. So, just wanted to share a couple thoughts. One is that we have some goals here, and that is with this opportunity at COP, we can share some messages with those who participate here at COP, and that includes the delegates and those who are negotiating the climate issues that we're faced with, and potentially some agreements to go with that. And this is a very crucial moment in time, as we all know. So jumping to the cryosphere, the issues at hand that we typically hear about is carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas. And yes, there is a greenhouse effect happening with too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and some of that is attributed to cooking with polluting fuels. About 2.3% of CO2 emission is attributed to cooking with polluting fuels. Also, there is black carbon emission from cooking with polluting fuels, and that is attributing to about 25% of the black carbon emission. Along with cooking is household heating, lighting, and with polluting fuels combined with cooking with polluting fuels, you have about half of black carbon emitted from household level polluting fuels. So we have a big task ahead is to reduce that. And the effect that black carbon has on ice pack and glaciers and snow is that it accelerates the melting of this precious frozen form of water. And if that melts too quickly, well, the sea levels will rise more quickly. So we need to slow that down. And so we have some good news here. And I'll make a connection between how black carbon and sunlight on black carbon is absorbed. And when sunlight is absorbed by black carbon on ice, it is the energy of light is transformed to heat, and that is accelerating the melting. We actually will be talking about a very similar version of that with solar cooking, in that it is happening in a controlled manner. But just to get started, thank you again to the Cryosphere Pavilion for allowing us here again at COP. It's really a pleasure to be here. And thank you all for joining here and also online. We do have questions, opportunities for questions for those who are joining online, and please, we'll address them at the end of the session. But please do send in your questions. Okay, so to move along, we do have a series of talks today. I'll be starting things off, but then we'll have Sarah Rosen, SCI's Solar Cookers International's Program and Operations Manager, and we have then Rocio. So Carmen Rocio will join us online. Sarah is also joining online. And next we have Samir Sharma, who is with us online already. He's the CEO and co-founder of Swaha in India, and Eva Wissens, the founder, managing director, and chair of the board at Lightfire. She's based in Finland. So it's excited to have our guest speakers. And then in person, we have Keith Wingard, our SCI's Strategic Partnerships Manager. To start, I'd just like to give some background about what solar cookers are. So with this slide, you'll see the three basic types of solar cookers. And all of these devices capture sunlight, they collect sunlight, they absorb sunlight, normally on black surfaces. So similar to how black carbon is impacting glaciers and snow, in this case, we're going to use this to our advantage for capturing the sunlight and using the heat for cooking. So black surfaces are very important for absorbing sunlight, and then we need to retain that somehow. So we actually talk about using a greenhouse. Much like the greenhouse of the planet, in our case, it might be a Pyrex bowl, a glass surface, or maybe the window and the insulation qualities of a box oven, which you also see in this picture. The parabolic reflector is a very strong concentrator of sunlight to bring sunlight to perhaps the black base of a cooking pan. And again, you have the absorption taking place there. So this is solar thermal cooking that we're talking about. And there are hundreds of variations on these types of cookers. Now, solar cooking is an integrated solution. It's to be added to cooking solutions that already exist at the home level. So don't expect it to work all the time. It's to be used on sunny days, and if not a sunny day, use a different solution. In that context of integrating solutions, we also promote the heat retained basket. So if you're cooking your food with a solar cooker and it's not quite done, you can then put it in a heat retained basket and it will continue to cook into the night. It's also useful to keep the food warm so that you can have a hot meal at night. We also promotes water pasteurization. So a WAPI, or a water pasteurization indicator, is something that Solar Cookers International promotes regularly. Excuse me. We back up one. Other types of solar cookers are shown here. The Fresnel lens. This is a very creative space in solar cooking. So Fresnel optics are used, and this is a picture of a Fresnel lens. There are also Fresnel mirrors you may hear about from Eva in just a moment. And the evacuated tube is a very exciting, fairly new technology to be brought into the solar cooking space. And this picture is one that I took at home. I live in New York during the wintertime. So I want to point that out in the context of the cryospheres, that these devices can be used in the cryosphere on sunny days. So, in fact, some of our best sun is in the wintertime when there's less humidity and vapor in the air. The sun is streaming through, it's very strong. So I solar cook year-round on sunny days in New York, even on frostbite warning days. It's still very strong sunlight. Now, also in areas of high altitude or in northern areas, the institutional solar cooker works extremely well. These are pictures that I took at the Vajra Academy. It's a boarding school in Nepal, just near Kathmandu. And on this system, the rooftop of this school are concentrators that bring sunlight to receivers where water is heated to steam. And the steam then goes down into a clean kitchen and through some steam cooking devices. And they are making traditional meals using the system. You see the momos on the picture. They were delicious. So this is a system that we also find more at high altitudes, including in India. And Samir Sharma will be speaking more about his experience using similar systems at high altitude. So hold on. He'll be speaking more about that very, very soon. At Solar Cookers International, who are we? Who is Solar Cookers International? We are a nonprofit organization. We are not a manufacturer. We used to be, but we stepped away from that so we could focus on other priorities and needs like solar cooker testing. So we've developed a testing program. We have hundreds of collaborators around the world, over 135 countries. And our mission and vision really is to focus on environmental aspects, health aspects, economic aspects, and gender equality. And these can all be addressed with a solar cooker. So more that we spread the solar cooker, the better we will accomplish goals for those aspects in society and in nature. So Solar Cookers International works to address the problem that is being faced by about 2.1 billion people on our planet, still cooking with polluting fuels and open fires. That's about 1 out of every 3 people on this planet today. And we have 3 buckets of our work: capacity building, advocacy, and research. So we will dip in and out of that during this discussion, but our research is primarily our testing program, advocacy. For example, why we are here today at COP and speaking about this issues, capacity building, is that we need to implement rapidly. So here we go. Moving onward, I'd like to introduce you all to Sarah Rosen, our first online speaker. Sarah is SCI's Program and Operations Manager, and she's here to talk about some exciting developments at SCI. And I don't want to spoil any more of what she's going to say. So Sarah, please take it away. Thank you very much. Just let me know when I should advance the slide. Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Hi, Alan. Thank you so much for that introduction and for giving us an overview of solar cooking. I'm delighted to be here today, participating in the Cryosphere Pavilion and contributing to the conversation on solar cooking. I'm speaking today from Denmark, where it's snowing. And since we're at the Cryosphere Pavilion, I'll just mention that something I hear a lot living in a northern country is, solar cooking sounds great, but surely you can't do it in Denmark. And I'm happy to say that I solar cook all the time. So if I can do it, we can all do it. Alan, if you want to go to that first slide there. Great, thanks. Yeah. So I'm here today to talk really about two specific methods that SCI employs to understand the solar cooking space, to understand which countries are most receptive to initiatives, and to understand the potential impact that those initiatives might have. So go ahead, next slide. So as most of you know, but also for the folks at home, nationally determined contributions, or NDCs, are high-level documents that are at the heart of the Paris Agreement, and they serve as each country's commitment to reducing emissions and adapting to climate impact. So they provide us with really valuable information, which reflects a country's area of focus, their most urgent needs, strategies, and targets. And to meet those needs and to hit those targets often requires a country to introduce new policy, to mobilize resources, or to establish new partnerships. So if we want to be one of those new partners, it's important to know what's in the NDC. Every year, starting in 2017, SCI analyzes all of the nationally determined contributions to identify where solar cooking and clean cooking solutions are or could be integrated. We summarize our findings and produce a report, which identifies potentially receptive countries and highlights some specific language. Go ahead, next slide. Great, thanks. So what are we looking for when we're reading through these NDCs? The first thing is to determine whether the cooking sector is simply acknowledged, just acknowledged. So this includes mention of cooking, cook stoves, or cooking practices pretty much in any context. It could be related to deforestation or black carbon, as Alan was mentioning earlier, or gender equality or equity. This acknowledgement, even without specific targets, reflects an awareness of the sector's environmental, social, and health impacts. And it's a critical first step in integrating solutions into action plans. And without it, the sector risks being overlooked. The next step, or the next level, is that we look for slightly more specific language that is favorable to solar cooking. While explicit mentions of solar cooking would be ideal, NDCs often take a more broad approach. And we consider an NDC to be receptive if it promotes multiple clean cooking solutions, if it includes renewable energy targets in connection to cooking, or references a suite of improved cooking technologies. Countries that include this type of language are very well positioned to scale solar cooking initiatives. Next slide. In the most recent report, the 2024 report that SCI put out, 77 of the 196 NDCs submitted to the UNFCCC specifically mention cooking or cook stoves. And of those, 51 include language that could be supportive of solar cooking solutions. So while each NDC is unique, some common themes include a focus on rural communities, the need for diverse technologies, and connections to gender, deforestation, and health. Next slide. I especially want to highlight the Central African Republic as a great example because it not only has specific mention of solar cooking, but also includes some specific targets around solar cooking. So CAR's inclusion of this language, it not only helps us as CI zero in our efforts on building relationships with key representatives, it's also crucial in securing support and funding. Next slide. So I'm going to shift topics here slightly because while NDCs can indicate which countries might be receptive to solar cooking, additional tools are needed to assess the potential impact of such initiatives. So SCI, as a key player in the global cooking community, tracks solar cooking efforts worldwide and monitors the effects of cooking with polluting fuels, like the ones that you're seeing in this image here. So drawing on this expertise, we developed a tool called the Economic Impact Summaries, which estimates a country's potential savings in avoided healthcare and environmental costs. Now, it's really important to note that our analysis, it does not assume that the entire population is going to cook or that people are going to cook with solar 100% of the time. Instead, we model a scenario where the portion of a country's population that is currently dependent on polluting fuels transitions to solar just 25% of the time. This conservative estimate accounts for weather conditions and for cooking at night, but this approach also highlights how solar cooking can complement existing cooking methods rather than entirely replacing them. So even at this more modest adoption level, the potential savings in fuel and healthcare costs are tremendous. Next slide. So how do we reach these numbers, really? SCI combines our own research with data from the World Health Organization, the World Bank, and the US Environmental Protection Agency, among others, to generate some numbers which really speak to a country's potential. Key factors include the percentage of the population that is dependent on polluting fuels, CO2 emissions, and deaths caused by household air pollution. So these data points inform two critical metrics. The first one is the social cost of carbon, which is an estimate of the economic damage in dollars of emissions on different areas, such as coastal land loss and reduced crop yields, among many others. The second metric is welfare costs or health costs, which is a monetized estimate of the increased fatality risk that is directly related to air pollution. Next slide, please. So SCI's Economic Impact Summary tool includes both a table, which lists all of the countries together, as well as individual country sheets, like this one that we're looking at here, which makes the information accessible and easy to present in various advocacy contexts. Here, we see an example from Mali, and in Mali, 98.8% of the population uses polluting fuels, which creates smoke and contributes to 11,859 deaths annually. By switching to solar a quarter of the time, the country stands to save $743 million. Next slide. Here we see another example of the Central African Republic where 99% of the population is using polluting fuels. So earlier I highlighted CAR's NDC, which included specific solar cooking targets. Now together, these tools, the impact summary and the NDC report, help us complete a picture. The impact summary highlights both the need and potential impact, while the NDC reveals the country's openness to solar cooking and the type of policy, resources, and partnership we can anticipate. By combining these insights, we're able to identify high priority countries where solar cooking can make the greatest difference And of course, it's no coincidence that CAR is the site of one of SCI's newest initiatives. Next slide. So if you'd like to learn more about either of these tools mentioned today, please connect with one of the SCI team members that you see, or visit our website, solarcookers.org, and navigate to the download resources page. And with that, I just want to say thank you to the host of the Cryosphere Pavilion for having me. Thank you to everyone for taking the time to listen. And thank you to my teammates. We can't wait to have you back and hear how the last couple of weeks went. And that's it from me. Take care.
Thank you very much, Sarah. It's good to see you. Thanks. So I'm gonna skip through. There was a few more slides, Sarah, in your deck that you sent, but these.
Yeah, let's call those bonus slides. You can skip through.
Oh, okay. But this is basically a description of a little more detail about those countries. So we'll just ride through this. But thank you. And we will move on to our next speaker. I'm delighted to introduce Rocio. Rocio is a global advisor at Solar Cookers International, and she has experience working at high altitude with communities living at high altitude. So I will let Rocio start her presentation now. She's joining online. And Rocio, you can just say next slide, please, and I will advance the slides for you, okay? Thank you. So here's Rocio. Actually, Rocio, I don't have your slides, so I take that back. I think you're going to need to share your screen and run your own PowerPoint. We'll start by seeing if we can hear you. We can't hear you yet, but I'm told that you've joined the call. One moment. It seems like Rocio has lost the connection for the moment, so we will continue. Samir, are you ready to go ahead and talk? We can move to you, and then if Rocio joins, we'll come back to her. How does that sound?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
Great. So you can tell me next slide, and I'll advance your slides. So up next, I'd like to introduce you to Samir Sharma, who we met in person last year at COP in Dubai. And he has been doing some extraordinary work. I will let him explain it to you, but he's the CEO and co-founder of Swaha, based in India. Okay, Samir, thank you for joining us. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. So thank you so much to COP29 and Cryosphere.
If we can just have some patience, we'll bring the speakers back in. Hang in there. Okay, maybe we will go back to Rocio. Hello, Rocio. Good to see you. Rocio, thanks for joining us today. I hope that you can share your screen and give a presentation. but we're really delighted to have you with us. Rocio is a global advisor at Solar Cookers International. And Samir, hang on, we're going to go back to Rocio and have her present now, since she's back online and we lost you for a moment. So fingers crossed we can go smoothly. Rocio, on to you now. Share your screen, please. Thank you. Rocio, we cannot hear you. If you could put your screen in presentation mode, full screen mode again, and hit presentation again. We would like to confirm also that we can hear you. I do hope you can hear us, but at this time we still cannot hear you. Rocio, if you could hit the button that looks like the presentation screen, oh dear, and have it as a full screen window. And we still cannot hear you, just to let you know. So if you have your microphone muted, maybe unmute it. So I think the button that looks like the slideshow that at the bottom right corner. That should put it into full screen mode.
Yeah. By the time they get exactly. So I would think that because then you don't have to kind of school this directly.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. Rocio, if you could look at your chat. We have Amy here who's been chatting with you with some suggestions. And what we'll do is we'll move forward with Samir's presentation and try to come back to you with a connection and presentation. How does that sound? Okay? Okay. All right. Thank you. And I will advance the screen for you, Samir, as soon as it comes back, so that I can see it.
Sure.
We do have a lot of people who want to implement that technology.
Oops, sorry. There we go. That's your first screen, your first slide.
Thank you,
Samir.
Alan.
Thank you.
I hope I am audible.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you so much to everyone over there, and special thanks to COP29 and SCI to give me this opportunity to present the case study of the high altitude solar cooking for masses, which has started with a very big event of India since last 3 years. And now it has become a success story of adapting the solar cooking in the region of Jammu and Kashmir in India. And now, with the help of our continuous support by the government of the Jammu and Kashmir, Swaha, my startup of sustainability and solid waste management and renewable energy, we are able to get it into some policies and some programs which are basically helping the people to adapt solar cooking on personal and commercial level. Next slide, please. So the story began when we started our journey, when we got a specific project to make the biggest pilgrim event of India of Hindus uh, over Himalayas, to make that particular event into a zero landfill event and make it a completely clean, plastic free, and fossil fuel free kind of event, so that no carbon emissions or any kind of GHGs or pollution can take place over the sacred place of Himalayas to save the glaciers. So this was a very important and very complicated, very tough project, because the altitude was very high and it was a no man's land. There was no electricity, no roads, only glaciers, mountains. But 1 million people visits in one single month. So this was a big challenge for us. Weather was a big trouble, and heavy rains, landslides, cloud bursts, lack of oxygen, and so many things were there. So we took it as a challenge, and with the help of our team, we could do an amazing job over here and introduced first time the solar cooking experience to the public of the Jammu and Kashmir. Next, please. So you can see on the screen, this was an arrangement of establishing world's first sustainable kitchen for the pilgrims of Amarnath Yatra over the altitude of 10,500 feet, where the temperature range is from minus 10 degree to plus 20 degree sometimes. And we have established a kitchen over there which was majorly working on solar in the day timings, and to support it in evening and night cooking, we were having a biogas as well, which was basically established over there to convert the food waste into a biogas thing and use it as a fuel. So major responsibility was of a solar cooker, and you can see a Schaeffler parabolic dish, a 16 square meter dish was there, and we established it over there, and we were serving around 2,400 people's daily basis from breakfast to dinner, and we have saved around daily of 600 kilos of LPG gas with the biogas plant, and the rest of the work was done by the solar concentrator. So this was a very important and I would say like an ice-breaking thing for the Indian, subcontinent, particularly for the Jammu and Kashmir area, for the government, so that they can take it this new renewable energy solution for their multiple other projects. Next, please. You can see that, as I told you, that there is no electricity or roads were very much only some few up to the base camps we can have some cars. So you can see the some Kashmiri youths, these youths never saw any kind of a solar cooker. So we trained them, and with their help we made a team of local people. We empowered them that how a solar cooker is made. We have taken various kind of solar cookers to this particular event. One was the Scheffler so parabolic big dish you can see, another small size of parabolic dish, as well as small size of 10 square meter of parabolic dish is also being installed over there. So these youths were amazing, and they learned that how the solar cooker are being fabricated over here and how to operate them, and this has become a great success story for us. And the most important thing was this was the first time they have ever seen such kind of a thing. So around 840 kg of the LPG gas was saved during this event. Next, please. With the help of solar cooker, so you can see that how we used to cook rice over there and breakfast over there. You can see a small parabolic dish as well, where the school kids used to come to us, and then we took our IEC team, that is Information, Education, and Communication, because our objective was not only to showcase uh, a model of a solar cooker over there, but it was beyond that, that how such kind of new technology and environmental friendly techniques can be introduced to the locals over there, where the solar exposure is amazing and they are having a great exposure of sunlight, and around 7 hours daily they have a good sunlight. So we created a team who was involved into visiting various kind of schools in nearby areas, colleges, universities, and we called them for the breakfast, solar breakfast and solar lunch. So they used to come and visit, see the solar cooker and have the food with us, and then they realized that yes, such kind of innovative efforts can actually change their life, and they do not have to pay for the heavy fossil fuel for their cooking purposes, and they can actually think of alternating alternative fuel. So these are the pictures which are basically very much clear that how did we tried for the social impact over there. Next, please. The more glimpse that daily we used to cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Then we started inviting local people as well, who used to run the local shops and small restaurants for the tourists, as well as few farmers who can basically use solar cooker for their food processing, and a few women as well who were very much interested to get these solar cookers installed into their areas, and they were very much happy and very much interested to have the community kitchen as well, because in marriages and the big functions in these hilly areas, what happens that they normally come to a single place and they cook together. So uh, for that it was an amazing thing for them. So it became a great, I would say, a culture for the last 2 weeks of the entire event, and we had more than around 5200 plus people and visitors of the local areas from the nearby villages, nearby cities, universities, colleges, and schools. And then we started getting various inquiries that how we can procure solar cooker, how the government can help us, or how we who can help us with the training part of it, and how the operation and maintenance can be done. So this exercise has basically fulfilled our purpose, that for what we have brought this solar cooker to these hilly areas and introduced it as a alternative fuel over there. So this has become a great success. Next. And finally, because we are doing it since last 2 years, now government has taken it a very serious manner. So the impact, which is the success, I would say a barometer for you, so you can understand that how government is now working with us, and we are successfully able to penetrate government's interest into the social behavioral change as well as the environmental protection. So the government decided to go ahead with us with the 400 plus kitchens planning in this year, in 2025. Three solar cafes, they are going to start with Swaha by March 2025 in Srinagar and Kashmir area, where one university site and two tourism sites are there, where they would like to showcase that how solar energy can become a great help for cooking purposes. They are also ready for 500 plus small tabletop parabolic solar cooker to be distributed by the rural development department to the farmers for their own cooking as well as the food processing purposes. And the most important thing, that how it is going to run without Swaha as well, so that make it sustainable approach and sustainable, I would say, the practices. We have empowered local startups. So there are two local startups we have founded over there with Kashmiri youths, who are not only going to fabricate these solar cookers, but also they are ready to train and do the basic operation and maintenance for the government as well as to the farmers. So it's a great story that economic empowerment is going to be there with the help of solar cookers. The security of the women, particularly when they used to climb on the mountains for searching for the wood pieces to get a fire for the house kitchen, so they do not have to go over there. So the accidents and the security of women is increasing. And the most important that the Kashmir government is going to implement these cooker on the tourist site, so that will become a great IEC and advertisement for the solar cooking possibilities in the various areas. So I would say this impact is very much, I would say, I'm taking as a success, and the government is very serious. So in this year, we are most probably, if next year, if we are able to come to COP, then we will be able to show you all these things are working with the public, and we will have a live videography, interviews, and how the lives can be changed after it. So the impact is really good. It is on the government policy now, and we are establishing it. I'm talking to you from Kashmir only. I'm here to establish the first cafe. So most probably in the next 30 days, this cafe will be ready, and we'll be sharing the photographs with Solar Cooker International, who is our inspiring agency, and keep us running with the great positive thoughts and technology and help and support. So thank you so much to everyone. This is all from my side. If you have any question, please do let me know. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Samir. Let's give him a round of applause. That was very inspiring, and thank you for giving your update and your story. We will move now next to see if Rocio can test her microphone and hear us. But Samir, if you can please stay with us, because we may have some questions at the end. So Rocio, can you try your microphone, please? I cannot hear you, Rocio. Give you just a few more seconds, and then maybe we'll move on to our next speaker. So Eva, please stand by. Okay, Rocio, we still cannot hear you, so if you don't mind, we'll move on to the next speaker. And meanwhile, please continue the troubleshooting with Amy. Thank you, Amy, for helping out. So Eva, if you are there and ready,
Yes.
what I'm going to do, I can hear you. Wonderful. So I will introduce you just very quickly, and then I will be able to advance the slides for you. Just tell me when I should move it to the next one. So Eva is the founder, managing director, and chair of the board at Lightfire Limited. And I actually did not show a picture of one of her systems because I wanted her to be the one to share with you the wonderful systems that they're designing and how they're used. So go ahead, Eva. Take it away. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan, and thank you, my colleagues. It was really inspiring and super interesting to listen to you. I hope, Rocio, we can also hear your presentation very soon. And thank you for inviting me. It's an honor. Okay, we can start with the first slide. Yes, it's just like an introduction. So Lightfire is a social and impact company based in Tampere, Finland. We are based in the Nordics. We started as a group of 5 citizens passionate about solar cooking, and we tried to reinforce what was happening with solar cooking. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is what we call the Lightfire. This is the solar oven. There are also big community cookers, smaller than the Scheffler, so in between. And we have tried to advance the good cause of clean cooking by showing that there can be a productive use of solar thermal energy. So here, this is in Kenya. We are mostly present in East Africa, and we are installing their canteens, for example. We are also obviously working with the humanitarian sector, and we have developed training that I will present. Next slide, please. It's probably not useful here for this great audience, but this is how this works. So we are using 2-millimeter mirrors that are concentrated according, obviously, to precise calculation. So there is like a little bit of software involved on our side. But the goal is, just like as with the solar cookers, that the users can maintain it, and the lifetime of this equipment is 16 years. So you can see here a little bit of the cooker also. Next slide, please. Oh, and yeah, the temperature reached is 300 degrees Celsius, 572 Fahrenheit at the focal point. So this is one example of a young solar baker in Uganda, and our goal is really to support the creation of sustainable jobs. So there are obviously several entry points to work with us. And the next slide, please. And this is a project that was completed like a few months ago in North Kenya. And this is a canteen. So you can see in the back the house with solar panels where they are like preparing the food, having also the food. And this is where the chefs are cooking every day, 10 months a year. So there's a series of ovens and a series of community solar cookers. And we are part of like Education Finland, because turns out that this solution has been spotted as a very interesting, relevant one for canteens of the global south, to name it like that. Still, we are not a public and private partnership. I don't know for my colleague in India, but we don't work so directly with the government. Next slide, please. So this is an example to show you what you can do with Lightfire in terms of quality. I was surprised myself, because at the very beginning, I was so passionate about the tech that I didn't really care about the quality of the pastry of the food. But of course, for people, it matters a lot. And so this is a little bit what can be done, brioche, pain, buns, cakes, any kind of things. But because it is a big equipment, that it has a cost that is higher than parabolic solar cookers, it is important to see it as a way for people to make money with it. Therefore, it makes sense to make this investment, take a microloan, etc. And next slide, please. So we will see here a little bit of the performances. So you can see that it's possible to bake between 18 to 22 kgs of bread in an hour. The maximum observed volume of baked bread with solar is 110 kgs in France. The performance are very connected to the entrepreneurial spirit of the users, obviously. In some community, if there has been no training, for example, they see the benefit of not using charcoal or wood, but they might not have the entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial mindset. So that's why also we have developed training to kind of educate people on that. And a very interesting also business model with the Lightfire for entrepreneur is the roaster, and we have really excellent results on that. And I will present some entrepreneurs afterward. Of course, the cooker is also interesting. I think it's part of, now there is a wide range of different solar cookers. So ours is in a niche in between 4 small groups, small canteens. And we can bake 10 kgs of rice cook 10 kgs of rice in 1 hour, for example. Next slide, please. As I was mentioning, we have developed trainings, and this it was a demand from Plan International a few years ago. And we have now like a team of trainers in Kenya and Uganda. And we are now starting the training of trainers in order to spread a little bit faster, because it's good that if people can purchase the equipment, but it's even better if we are teaching how to build basic and simple light fire. I will develop this a bit more with the next slide. So typically we are offering two kinds of trainings. One is like Start Your Solar Bakery. So the way we work is that the NGO or association is purchasing from us X amount of light fire ovens, for example, and they are willing to train 100 young adults to create sustainable jobs. So we create groups of 12 to 15 young adults, and we stay with them for 3 weeks, working with the local helper, and then we teach them everything from obviously maintenance, safety, usage, etc. of their light fire. Also a little bit of like environmental science, understanding a bit what's happening, a little bit of science with the sun, etc. But most of it, we train them to bake, improve their recipe, try to seek local ingredients as much as possible in order to reduce their dependency on imports, especially with the crisis in Ukraine. This resonates a lot now. And we are teaching them the basics of entrepreneurship. So marketing, sales, hygiene, when do you purchase, how do you organize your day, your stock, etc. And this has been very successful, and also we are able to adapt our content to any kind of audience. Even if there is a very low education, it's completely, people get it, and they turn out to be good entrepreneurs. The other kind of training we are offering, as I was mentioning, is that it's a TOT, and this training of trainer that goes with TVET programs, where we teach to vocational teachers, and they can absorb our knowledge and then integrate that to their vocational school and teach to youngsters how to build light fire. This tech has several entry points, and that's also something I like very much. We have a first level, very basic DIY, very, very simple. And of course, the hardware we sell is made in a factory, and it is like more refined, etc. But in the end, who cares? What matters is that it works, that it's steady, and that the knowledge spreads as much as possible. Next, we of course have quality control processes all along the way. So now to come to the artisans that are making money with their light fire ovens, one of our most successful case is the Solar Fire Bakery in Kenya. So Miss Joanne Arwa created the bakery 2 years ago. She was a trainer with us, and she wanted to leave her former job. And training was good, but she wanted more action. So she started with lots of courage, because she's the only one in Kenya so far, and she's reaching profitability this year. 8 people are working with her, and she's using 2 light fire. She's opening a second shop this month, so that's very encouraging. And of course, case studies are available if anyone is interested. Next slide, please. Another great case study is the Nebi Bakery in Uganda. This group was part of a humanitarian project with Plan International. Many bakeries started at the end of that project, but not all of them succeeded because they moved, it changed, they were not that good, or it was not their thing in the end. So it was good piloting, very interesting experience. And 4 of them continued, and Nebi is the most successful one. And they are also reaching profitability this year. As you can see, they have last year they had a revenue of 3,722. and which is this year 4,500. So that's really, really encouraging, and they really love their oven, and they are really famous in their region. Next slide, please. So this man is Arnaud, and he used to be our CTO. He's an engineer, and he became very passionate about baking and solar baking. So he created his bakery in North France. And you see, this is his production. So his bread is like square, so he can fit a lot in the oven. He's also creating recipes with solar roasted nuts. And he proved that it's possible to make a solid business in a European country with solar thermal, solar concentration. So that's a big achievement. And if we go to the next slide, please. So he's working with 4 people full-time now. And at the moment in France, there are 7 bakers that are equipped with Lightfire. And I absolutely love that we are making bridges between southern countries and northern countries with the same tech. This is something I think we all feel in the solar cooking field. So there are 7 artisan bakers in France and 4 artisan with roasteries producing roasted seeds, snack, muesli, and also alternative to coffee. You know, coffee made with roasted beans, for example. That is very delicious. So Arnaud created his bakery in Normandy. He's combining baking and roasting, and he's the only one doing both. And he's very, very interested and inspiring. He wrote a book. There is now his example is in textbooks in French. They are publishing a book for kids about his story. So it's really interesting. But an important learning here is about the quality of the bread, because in Africa, with what people bake so far in all the projects we've made, buns, cakes, etc., Lightfire is perfect. To bake breads like Arnaud, which are like a square and like square in tins, it's also perfect. But when it comes to baking more breads like the one you see on these pictures, which is like more French bread, etc., then the oven is not a professional baking oven. And we are currently working with an industrial group to release a full professional baking oven that is going to work with the solar concentrator. So that's very exciting. Next slide, please. Alors, two other very interesting examples is this canning business and this microbrewery, both of them using the same solar tech. And they are very experimental, we could say. They are alone in their field, but in my opinion, they will inspire many. So the canning business, they are so obviously canning for farmers and producers all around, and they are also teaching this very important knowledge that has been lost. They are teaching that to French people, and the brewery is very interesting, and he combined our system, adapting it to his need for this organic beer. So you see, we started with the cooking and baking and humanitarian project, and then our work became much more than that, thanks to users and innovators. We can go to the next slide. Yes. Yeah, all this to say that now we really feel that we are like in this circular economy, and that the impact of solar is very connected to social change. This is not new to you, but it's important for me to say it again. Next slide, please. Yeah, so about the impact, you all know it very well. We have been, our DNA is that we are doers, we are adventurers, and so we have not been very much on tracking precisely, but since I have a connect with Alan, I am much more aware and understanding the importance also of certification, and so I am presenting the impact we have because this is an impact we have observed during these last 12 years. And now we are starting, now that we are a little bit more strong, we are starting on this approach of measuring everything, etc. Next slide, please. Yeah, so these are our partners and clients and sponsors all along the way. And I think this is the light slide, or it should be, yes, a contact. So this is the core team, and we are 2 in Europe, me in Finland, Urs in Switzerland, and Joanne and Sam being in Kenya. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Eva. That was wonderful and very inspiring. We are going to now try to move quickly to Rocio, who is working on a solution using her phone. So thank you, Rocio. Can you say hello, please? Rocio, Global Advisor at Solar Cookers International.
Hi, can you hear me?
I was able to hear, but then it started ringing. Can you try again?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Perfect. Take it away, Rocio. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, I am so happy. This will be going on. So yeah, I will present the solar cooker experience in Bolivia. So next, please. This experience is part of a very small association which promotes solar cookers since almost 20 years. So they have a very long experience promoting solar cookers mainly for households. So I will just briefly, quickly present the problems that in Bolivia, still, especially in rural communities, still use firewood for cooking, and this represents a very dangerous issue for their health. 80%, 89% of energy in rural communities is used for cooking. Next, please. This problem is very closely related with the cryosphere problems in Bolivia, in the Amazonian for during the last 5 years. We had very drought season and very strong forest fires, and this brought very important problems on the cryosphere, on the Indian glaciers because of the black carbon emitted because of this forest burning, especially in the Amazon in Bolivia. And this black carbon has a very strong impact on the melting of the glaciers. And of course, these also have a very important impact on the water access for the rural communities, depending on the water coming from the glaciers. Next, please. Yeah, here I have a little bit more information about these forest fires. Of course, there are human activities that cause these forest fires, but the climate and natural factors like wind and drought will enhance these problems. Since 2001, between 2001 and 2020, we had about, in average, 3.7 million of hectares burned in the forests because of forest fires. Next, please. So, of course, there's a relationship between the melting, glacier melting, and outmigration in rural areas. Coming back with the problems related with health issues, there are very important risk related with the smoke in households because of cooking. And the more vulnerable people are elder people, and which have very low income and very low education levels. So they are very, very affected by these dirty fuels, using dirty fuels. Next, please. These also have an impact with migration. So people, because of lack of water, reduction in the agricultural production, so this causes a lot of migration from rural to urban areas. Next. So solar cookers really is a solution for these problems. As I said, Inti Illimani Association works in isolated areas, in rural areas, promoting this technology, which is a very, very simple technology. It's a ULOG model, which is completely made in Bolivia. Inti Illimani promotes that people can learn how to build the cooker and how to repair it in case they have any problem. So they become autonomous in using their solar cooker. Also, it is Inti Illimani knows that it is very important that there has to be following up to make sure that people really understand how to use their solar cooker, and they can, so the team can help them to solve the issue that they may have during this process of changing from a firewood cooking system to the solar system. Next, please. I will just here present some examples of all the meals that can be made, and the traditional meals, the meals that people usually cook, can perfectly be done in the solar cooker, except when we need to fry. So here we have all kind of soups. Next, please. Yeah, here we have also rice, potatoes, or which are very, very common meals. And we also used to have boiled juices with fruits, dry fruits. We boil and to make some kind of teas or drinks. Next, please. Also, all kind of meats can be done in this solar cooker. Next, please. Yeah. Also, as it was presented earlier, we have also all kind of cakes, many different kind of cakes or cookies or all this kind of food. Next, please. One other new application of the solar cooker is to deshydrate, to dry fruits or vegetables. So people started with this new possibility of using the solar cooker to dry food, to conserve food, and to be able to use them later when they have bigger amounts. Or even they started small business to sell dry fruits or dry vegetables. Next, please. Also, as this model of solar cooker can keep the heat, it's a heat keeper. It can be used also. Of course, it's not the same as when you have sun, but when there's no sun, it's possible to use this model of solar cooker when we have no sun. So we need a initial source of heat, so we can boil the soup or anything for maybe 10 minutes, and then put it into the solar cooker closed, and the soup will keep cooking even when there's no sun. Next, please. So here I present some results. So more than 9,500 solar cookers have been installed in Bolivia since 2003, but the project actually started much earlier. And this means about 60% in reduction in fuel consumption. Of course, 60% savings in fuel expenses when the people have to buy fuel, and about 1.8 tons of CO2 avoided per stop per year. It depends on what kind of fuel we are replacing. Yeah. Next, please. Of course, there are other results related with safe, but with health, but we don't have actually evidence of these results, but it is sure that using solar cooker, people reduce the exposure to smoke, and this have a positive impact in health. Also, we did a very interesting study related with impact of using a solar cooker in gender issues. So here we can see that families that use a solar cooker have a better distribution on the cooking activities. So when a family have a solar cooker, more members of the family participate on the solar in the cooking tasks. So this means that women can have possibility to do other activities, to participate more in the community activities, decisions, meetings. So it has a very, very interesting impact in gender issues. Next, please. Also, the solar cookers, even if this model was thought to have domestic use, in many communities, people started getting organized and preparing food for selling, especially for special dates when they have parties, or they have some fairs in the villages. The people, the communities that were organized to have the solar cookers, they were organized to prepare different kind of meals and to sell the meals in the specific dates or parties. Next, please. Yeah, that's what I want to share, and I really want to thank this opportunity, and thank you for to other speakers also for their presentation. Very, very inspiring, and I am so happy to be part of this.
Thank you so much, Rocio. We're so happy you were able to join. Your story is so inspiring, and I'm getting really hungry seeing all of this solar cooked food. I don't know about the rest of you, but quickly we have Keith Wingear to come on up, and he's going to be the final presenter and close the show. So come on up, Keith.
Forward. Okay. Yeah, I agree, Alan. All these delicious foods that we've been seeing looks very appetizing, especially it's getting a little bit late in the day here, so I'm getting a little hungry myself. We are running a little short on time, so I'll just very quickly run through a few last slides about Solar Cookers International, but I do want to thank all of our speakers. Rocio, it's been amazing I'm glad we were able to overcome the technical issues and hear your presentation. Samir, always great to see and hear about the work you're doing. Eva as well, some of the work that you've been doing in Kenya and Uganda for the community enterprise opportunities. That's really great to see. And then Sarah as well, some of the work that SCI has been doing. So I'll just wrap up by saying part of what we do at SCI is advocacy. So coming to events like this to talk about solar cooking and help other organizations or potential future partners better understand the cooking challenge that we're facing. As Alan mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, there's still around 2 billion people that rely on polluting fuels and technologies. This is a significant problem that contributes to climate emissions while also having the gender, health, and environment impacts as well. And Alan had mentioned earlier, the estimate is around 2%, or a little over 2% of global emissions are from cooking emissions. Solar cooking can positively impact all 17 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We've heard a lot about the different connection points. And there are a number of places around the world where this problem is most acute. For example, sub-Saharan Africa, as you can see in the slide here. The lighter the color means there is a increased dependence on biomass for cooking. South Asia, Southeast Asia also is a region that still relies on wood, charcoal, and other biomass for cooking. Meanwhile, these same regions of the world are some of the places that are blessed with the most direct sunlight. So it seems like it would be a logical solution to scale solar cooking in these regions so that we can use this renewable energy source to help address access to clean cooking. So that's where Solar Cookers International comes in. We're looking for opportunities to partner with government entities, nonprofit organizations, other NGOs, even for-profit businesses that are looking to manufacture these solar cooking technologies in the countries where this issue remains a challenge. Some of the building capacity initiatives we have, we maintain what we refer to as the Solar Cooking Wiki, or a database of information with open source design plans and examples of projects happening around the world. So if you wanted to dig a little bit deeper into some of these solar cooking initiatives that you've been hearing about today, many of them can be found on the Solar Cooking Wiki. We also prioritize monitoring and evaluation. So we have data collection that's part of all of our direct programs, and we encourage others that are implementing solar cooking programs to use these data collection tools as well. This includes a quick needs assessment to determine the cooking situation in communities where we're looking to collaborate and work in, and then adoption and impact surveys that establish a baseline and then an adoption end line that really gives us the opportunity to share the message of the significant impact and the co-benefits that can be realized when using solar energy for cooking purposes. We do also maintain a map on our website, so we ask anybody that's working on solar cooking, we have a way for you to input your information so that we can share it with others on our map. This gives us an opportunity to share at events like COP29 and other conferences to show that solar cooking is not so niche as some might expect. It's really happening around the world in many places. We want to keep amplifying this message that solar cooking is currently working for many, and we want to expand that solar cooking to more places on the map. So if you're working on solar cooking, let us know about it. We'll put it on our map. And we hope to continue growing the movement for solar cooking around the world. We also want to highlight that we're an organization that welcomes collaboration, and we recommend you look to sign up for more information. We have resources available on our website that you can access. You can connect with our collaborators from around the world. Feel free to look into joining the SCI Association. You can also contact SCI about consultancy services, whether it's related to program management, project design, technical questions related to solar cooking technologies as well. We're here to work with you on expanding solar cooking, and feel free to support SCI and the work that we do as well. So I just want to finish by saying thank you again to the Cryosphere Pavilion for hosting us here today, to anyone watching out there at home, and to those of you joining us here today. It's been an honor and a privilege for Solar Cookers International to be joined, to be here once again at the Cryosphere Pavilion, and we look forward to continuing the conversation in the days to come. Thank you.